Who the fuck uses XML?
We can expect less talented problem solvers.
I see mediocrity, and I see it both as a good thing and as a bad thing.
They are definitely privileged, especially data scientists.
People are tribalistic. You want to belong. You don't want to miss out on stuff. You want to be cool.
Passion can make you do some extra miles sometimes.
Fuck that. We need to refactor this thing first, and then we'll add this feature.
That feeling of accomplishment won't be that big if you didn't go through that pain.
What's the fucking incentive to actually do and write quality software nowadays?
I think passion basically makes you continue what you do, even though it might not be always fun.
Hello and welcome everyone to yet another episode of VUnstaged, the After Hours edition with yet another very special guest I am meeting for the first time. So if you can tell us your name, what do you do for a living, and of course I ask this everyone, how did you get into tech? Because everyone has their little interesting story.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Vasile. For a living, I'm basically a software engineer. But at the moment, to be more accurate, I'm doing machine learning engineering because I cannot say that I do models from scratch. I basically handle the processes that make sure that those models are being used appropriately. So basically something close to ML, but also close to data engineering. Yeah, we can talk about the differences later, maybe.
We'll open the Pandora box as we move on, because AI is like a huge topic, and whether you want to talk about AI or not, it's happening and it's affecting everyone. You mentioned, I asked you what you do for a living. Because I find this very hard, especially as a backend engineer. How do you explain non-technical people what do you do for a living?
Okay,
like what is backend? Because sometimes I even find hard to explain what I'm doing to like technical people who are like in the industry, but how do you explain that to like non-technical friends? You play some football, volleyball over the weekend, and they're like, you meet a new guy and they ask you, what do you do for a living?
Yeah, good question. I think you need to actually take into consideration the background of that person as well. When explaining backend, for example. I tend to pick like a platform that person is certainly using. For example, e-commerce. So I might tell that person that when you go and put something in the cart, there are actually some things that are happening that you don't see. So
that's usually how I also explain it. Like, there's things you see, that's what I'm not doing. I used to, but I'm not doing it. And there's things you don't see, like database and shit like that, which you don't notice it doesn't work until it doesn't work, you know?
That's right, yeah.
There's plenty of things to cover. There's a lot of stuff to discover about you, I guess. But before we do all that, we must kickstart the show with some really good red wine. So I'll introduce the brands we have. At the end of the show, the tradition is you pick a bottle, of course. So we have two brands, or one brand, I should say, because it's the same winery. It's Fautor. One of them is Rara Neagra. The other one is some weird ass Italian name. So it's Tempranillo. Yeah, whatever. So this one is Tempranillo. The other one is Tempranillo plus Rara Neagra. So whatever you'll like more, I guess we'll choose at the end of the show. But I guess why not just take a sip. Really good stuff. So somebody told me I was actually supposed to serve people wine at the room temperature, because I used to put them in like the fridge. I'm like, oh, I like cool wine, you know. But you don't drink red wine cool. You usually do it like room temperature, and then wine, which is white, you do it like cold wine. In other words. So
makes
nice
sense.
little touch, I guess. I'll maybe start the show a little bit by lightly by asking, because I have my own interesting story about that. Because I'm also doing like backend engineering and whatnot. I was wondering, what is your journey? How did you come to do backend and now data/ML engineering? Did you go through like front end, the PHP world, the dark side? Was it something else, mobile development and whatnot?
Yeah, good thing that you asked that, because I actually got carried away and forgot to mention how I got into tech.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically it all started in high school. I actually started doing competitive programming in 10th grade.
Yeah.
We had a really good professor at the high school, and he basically introduced us to platforms of competitive programming. And yeah, basically, high school for me was solving everyday problems.
So
Sorry.
you knew right away what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I said everyday problems, but actually, what I wanted to say was solving problems every day.
Yeah.
On problem sets from Romania or from our countries.
So was it like an Olympiad of sorts?
Yeah, we also took part in the Olympiad on informatics,
Yeah.
which had also that format of competitive programming with test cases, problem sets.
So lead code style type of stuff is not a big deal for you.
Lead code. Oh, I actually started to do lead code every day right now. Yeah. So yeah, those I think are easier than.
That's
what I
how I
used to.
actually remember you. Like, there's a particular reason why I asked this question. I remember you from, I believe it was a summer camp.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it was a summer camp. Everyone was like, there was some rumors that there's this guy who knows algorithms and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we never seen each other since that point in time. You kind of took your path. I took my path. I'm obviously a little bit older, but I haven't really spoken since then. And yeah, that's how I like knew. And then I'm like, I know a guy. He's like really good. I need to interview him someday. And turns out I started this little thing, and yeah, was really curious. How did you get into that?
Mm-hmm.
Because for different people, the story is like different. Like for me, like the whole, especially problem solving and algorithms, it took a while until it clicked. Because I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I can't like something unless I see something tangible. So I kind of started with like building UIs and stuff, and then the PHP world, and then that's how I kind of, okay, there's logic, there's UI, and then I kind of figure out what I liked more, I guess, in the end, and I stuck with it. But it's interesting and inspiring that you always knew what you wanted. And I can confirm, by the way, the teacher is really good. I think I was at that high school for 1 year, so really good stuff.
Oh, you got to know him. Yeah.
I got to know him, although the downside, I don't even know why I made this choice. I guess societal decisions and whatnot. I did like the humanitarian profile.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't have as many classes of informatics as they used to call it. So we had like a few Pascal classes and whatnot. He just called everyone dumb and stuff, like his classical way of teaching. You are dumb, you're dumb.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, you don't see that nowadays, because nowadays everyone's offended and shit. So it's an interesting approach of teaching, I would say.
Yeah, I could say that playing Bilot at informatics helped a bit as well. Yeah.
You did that?
Yeah.
Was he like against?
No.
Because I know he had like some crazy. Sometimes he would be like crazy. He would just walk over the hall and just scream at some teacher or something.
No, nothing like that. Because we played him.
Oh, you played him.
Yeah.
In that case, he's not against. Yeah.
He was a very good player. Yeah. He played hands that, if you would look at them, you don't give him any chances. But
I still don't know how the fuck to play that, to be honest. Like, I only remember the Romanian classes after I moved places. And I just remember like guys sitting one bench behind me and just playing and just saying weird shit, which I still don't know what it means. But it was fun to like watch from the side how they get into, like, how they start quarreling and getting into fights and arguments and stuff. Especially when they count points.
Yeah.
When somebody's fucking up the counter and everyone is like jumping on him and beating him up and stuff. It's fun.
Happens.
What's your, or let's say, in the backend engineering world, what's your language of choice? The one you prefer / the one you work at the moment with?
At the moment, Python, but my choice, I think it has to be Java.
Yeah. On that note, like, I mean, I have to make this joke. So I'm gonna ask, I guess, why is Java by default so complicated? Why is everything like, like with that meme, you want to solve a problem and you pick Java, now you have a problem factory.
Okay, that's a good one.
Like, why is everything so, like, why can't you do normal procedural stuff as you do in C, for example? It has to be wrapped up in all this OOP style Java type of thing where everything is complicated by nature.
Yeah, well, I would say that it depends on who you ask, because I think what makes Java to look complicated is basically verbosity.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not necessary, which they're actually trying to take out on newer versions. But in my opinion, Java is less complex than the majority
It
of
depends, I
languages.
guess, how you define complexity.
Yeah.
Because if you say complexity is, I don't know, lines of code you write, versus you say complexity is the amount of time it takes you to understand what somebody else wrote before you, like those are two different quantibles and measurables, I would say. So, but yeah, I don't know. For me, it always was like, why can't I just fucking print something? Why do I need to create a class and then within the class import some package and then that package has a function which I need to call? And it's not even a function, it's a fucking method.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everything is like inheriting everything, which is fun. But yeah, do you, so since you're writing Python at the moment more so than Java, what do you miss the most in terms of let's say language features and whatnot? Is it aside from type safety? I'll say that.
Yeah, I think the thing that I miss the most is actually the standardization
Yeah.
of the Java ecosystem. In Python, let's just say the entropy in the Python ecosystem was basically big, and it gets higher as we move forward. Yeah, basically in Python, anyone can do whatever they want. Everyone has their naming conventions or best practices, which is not a good thing when someone else
Yeah,
will
it's
be
the
using.
same with like Go. I really like what they did with the formatting.
Mhm.
Like, you don't fucking spend your time formatting code as you do in JavaScript. Let's use single quote, let's use double quotes, let's use
Mhm.
this many spaces or that many spaces, let's use tabs, not spaces, like all this shit,
Mhm.
which just is a waste of time in the end. Just fucking do it this way. I don't care if you like it. And I'm okay with that as long as there is, like, as you said, a standard. But
Yeah.
when everything is a mess, it's chaotic. Is package management still an issue with Python?
Yeah, I think it is. The versions, the all those things that can actually slow you down.
Yeah.
That's still a thing. Maybe it's a little bit better than previous versions, but if you will deal with Python, you'll probably end up wasting time.
I'll be all the way honest. I mean, I did sometimes I do like play with like small scripts and stuff, like notebooks and stuff,
Mhm.
but every single time I stumble across the indentation. Like, the indentation is always
Mhm.
killing me. Like, why do I need to like format my code a certain way? Why can't I just do it?
A one-liner.
Yeah, like, I can do it whatever, and then I don't know, let the IDE format it, let some script format it for me. But if you have like a weird tab somewhere,
Mhm.
it's like YAML but worse, because YAML, like, spaces and tabs are interchanged and you can like mix and match the two unless you mess up, but it's still more flexible. But yeah, Python is like super. Of course, you don't like fucking write text in Notepad and whatnot. You'll probably have some text editor or IDE which does that for you, but still, do you experience like errors on indentation once in a while?
Hmm. Yeah, I might experience those kind of errors, and it's worse when it compiles. You know
It
what I
does
mean.
compile?
So if you, I don't know, for example, you have a repetitive loop,
Yeah.
and you didn't provide the necessary indentation to a line that does some logic,
Yeah.
that won't be repeated because
Yeah, it actually makes, so let me think. So because you don't have the curly brace, it doesn't know that the body of the loop is supposed to run within that loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's annoying. Because I mean, you can technically do weird fucking loops like with C, but most like modern languages, they have typically a requirement that you need to put a curly brace for the body and whatnot. Yeah, but that's funny in a way.
Yeah, that's I think that's in long term, that is actually more comfortable to work with. I don't know. Well, I got used to Python now. I've been using it for uh, more than 5 years, even if I'm working as a machine learning engineer for only 1 year and a half. But still, I prefer the alternative, I would say.
By alternative, you mean Java?
Yeah, and the curly braces,
It's like fucking, I don't know, inventing a different kind of wheel or something which is not standard. Like everybody does it a certain way, you get used to it, it just makes sense logically, and then you just do things differently and you're running. I guess, I don't know, expression. Like there was a time when, languages came up and there was, I guess, innovation and some kind of a race for which language is more expressive, if you will. In other words, it's easy to write, it's easy to read, it makes you more productive in other way. But then you run into these like space is always like something which you can run into an issue, especially as you mentioned with for loops, the body. Yeah, wasn't aware of that though.
Yeah, that I think that can basically hide a bug, which I don't know, can be
Not to
a
mention
problem.
static typing though. Like that's,
Yeah.
I remember the times when I moved from JavaScript to Go. Initially, it was a bit of a pain in the ass because everything has to have a type. But then when I like moved back to, even when I'm doing like console logs in like the browser network tab and whatnot, I'm like defining types like almost immediately. And I'm like, hold on, this is like JavaScript. This we don't do that here, you know? And yeah, it just I can't go back. I guess I can't get to used to the idea of everything is dynamic, everything is kind of inherent, like inferred as it runs and whatnot.
Well, about typing, I could say that it's annoying sometimes because especially when you work with someone else's code, and yeah, basically you need to know the type of some object.
You need to rely on good naming, I guess.
Um, yeah, and that's
Because
not.
if the naming is like res, like what the fuck is res? But if you have like a type, res is of XYZ type, then you know that it doesn't matter what like it matters, I guess, but it matters less. You can, I guess, take a shortcut on shortcuts, short name variables, if you will, because they are just local to the code, and you can just take a shortcut and say, okay, this is going to be res or r, doesn't matter, because there's a type. I know at least the type. But with dynamic languages, you don't know the type.
Yeah, you don't know, and I think on some occasions I actually needed to run the code in order to be able to work with it, because I needed to see what kind of objects I have to work with. Yeah, so
Print line
that's
them.
yeah.
I always do that stuff. Like, okay, let me just print it, and then I'll see what. I guess this is the other issue with like statically typed languages, especially when you like consume APIs and whatnot. You like run it, and then okay, there's this field, that field. Now I can define like an abstraction, but it's a good thing to have an abstraction in place. Otherwise, the already chaotic nature of software becomes even more chaotic. I'm just curious, how long did it take you to move away from let's call it backend engineering to ML engineering, and what was the primary reason? Was it an opportunity you got, or it's more of a thing you say, okay, there's this thing called AI, it's hot, why not just try it?
Yeah. Well, I started my career, so to say, with Java. I did that for about 4 years, and basically, mm, a couple of years before that, I started to get also interested into ML AI. Yeah, because of the hype and all that kind of stuff. And besides the work, I was doing basically personal projects, and had some contribution also in and mentoring on hackathons or different events that some organizations like Sigmoid or AI in Action, they used to invite me as a mentor or as a team lead on some projects. Um, and well, I thought maybe I should streamline my work outside the work, so to say, and what I do at work, because at that time I was basically a bit tired of working with our big monolith on Java. I guess, especially because it's some old style code, you don't see that much future perspective into it. And I got the chance to first mentor an intern on data science at our company. And after that, I was given a role as a data engineer. It wasn't that big of a deal because I only needed some coding experience and some knowledge of databases to get this.
Yeah. So is it? I'm just curious, to anyone out there looking to, I guess, transition to this hot field. Is it easy to transition as somebody who has already coding skills? If you're, let's say, talking about ML engineering, not data science. And do you actually need math to excel in this area?
Okay, so I guess for MLOps or data engineering, ML engineering, you don't need that much of mathematical background or statistical background. I think the prerequisites is databases coding. Preferably Python. Maybe what else? Some programming basics, best practices. And that should be enough. At least that's what we look for when on hiring interns, for example.
That's a good sign for anyone who wants to try it, because that's at least what I was looking into. I'm like, okay, let me try this thing on my own. And I'm like, okay, I know this concept, I know that concept. I guess I just need to maybe try a few things which are natively supported in Python, as you said. But there's also extensions or even modules like Olama, for example, and you can just plug in whatever was built on Python and just use it natively within your language, not give a shit about it.
Yeah.
You mentioned one interesting aspect, and I immediately had a question in my mind. You mentioned monoliths. And my immediate question was, does everything need to be a microservice nowadays? Because everything, like people, companies, they just love trends. That's why we even have AI. And there's, I would say, AI hype around this. But talking about microservices, it's been there for a while. I have a feeling that nobody does monoliths anymore because everybody's requiring you to know microservice and service-oriented architecture. So does every service actually require a microservice? The other question to that is, what are the hidden costs a microservice has, which nobody talks about, and they only figure out once they hit that roadblock?
So microservices, I think there is an overhype regarding microservices, definitely. I also have the suspicion that some consultancy companies are trying to oversell them. I don't think microservices are an option for anyone. We or the architects actually need to thoroughly investigate what the client needs. There are some specific characteristics that might trigger the need of microservices, but at least on some occasions it wasn't the case. So I saw some projects that made this transition. It wasn't necessary.
So what would you say is, let's say, the focus? Let's say you join a startup, the client has some needs, and you're like, okay, let's immediately go microservices, versus no, fuck that, we'll build something which has, let's say, more logic, but it's one single component, it's one single piece or domain. And then as you progress, as you scale up, as you have more users, as you have more traffic, as you have more demand, basically you can say, okay, there's this part of the application extremely demanded. How about we decouple it and make it its own service? What's the approach for you as an engineer? Let's say if you were to be in the position of somebody who's taking decisions.
Exactly. I think problems should dictate the need of new approaches, in this case, microservices. If you, for example, just an example. If you have a monolith, you need to do regular releases, and you see that this architecture is actually slowing you down to deliver.
On the other hand, you don't have transactions; you have to care.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there's.
Well, I think we can't ignore compromises in software when we're talking about software architecture. So it depends. What's the biggest pain that we have? If that pain would be solved by microservices, and we're sure actually that we won't run into bigger pains, go for it.
When I initially started my career, I guess I was always looking for the best new upcoming pattern, design pattern, trend, and whatnot. And every single time you tend to, like when you discover something new, every single time you tend to automatically discard everything that's old. You immediately try to put it in like the old school stuff, meaning worse stuff. And this is the new cool shit. We need to do it in this approach, and we need to refactor everything with this approach. When in reality, as you said, it's a compromise. You need to really pick your poison. Do you want to deal with this kind of problem, which, as you mentioned, slower releases and whatnot, or do you want to deal with like transactional issues, tracing, and like trying to make sense of all the spaghetti, which we now call microservices? Like you really need to pick your poison, need to pick your, I guess, problems, as you said, and I would say it's easier to understand what should the compromise be if you start from something that's not broken and then you fix what's broken instead of trying to fix what doesn't yet exist as a problem, or it will never exist. Maybe the project will fail at some point, but you're trying to solve something which doesn't need. As a result, you're spending time on something which you don't need. You end up landing on the market way later than you were supposed to, for example.
Yeah.
Speaking of patterns, was curious, through your entire career and experience as an engineer, what are some of the patterns that you see overly applied or misused in companies? Something that's popularized, but not necessarily is the case every time they are trying to be implemented.
In general, or in, I don't know, in management?
Let's say in software development.
Yeah, I think at the moment we can see actually a pattern that some companies are trying to substitute some modules of something that works with AI alternatives, which is basically something non-deterministic, and they actually end up not having the results they expect because they rely maybe too much on some AI stuff, which
you mean like AI assisted development, agentic AI type of thing?
I was thinking in this case particularly about recommendation systems.
Yeah.
AI powered. But also.
So you mean more in like a product development type of thing where you have a product and you're like designing the roadmap, and that product worked just fine without any AI features, but you're just shoving AI down the throat of the customers because it's trendy, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I saw some initiatives of integrating AI capabilities just because it has the buzzword AI in its name. And for example, again, recommender systems. It might actually be less reliable and provide less relevant recommendations than something that was based on, I don't know, indexing or references.
Good old if statements, I guess.
Yeah.
As somebody used to say, like they even, like some people go to the extreme where they have like AI doing basic arithmetic operations or is equal AI or something like that. They're just fucking wasting tokens for checking if something is even, or like basic logical Boolean operations, basically logical operations, you could say.
Which shouldn't be done by AI, of course, as we know.
Since we opened this, I guess, Pandora box with AI, is like how hard, because you're part of the, I would say, younger generation. How, like, do you see, because you mentioned internships and hiring newcomers, how hard it is for them to, I guess, get out of this AI bubble when on the one hand you have management pushing AI assisted development and let's try and use AI for boosting productivity and whatnot. On the other hand, you have people that are just getting started and they need the frustration, they need the lack of super fast delivery. Like they need to understand, like, let's be honest, when you were solving problems back in high school, you probably a lot of the times bang your head over the wall trying to understand how you can optimize certain paths, trying to achieve, because you have like tests with some platforms, you have tests, and sometimes your algorithm does what it needs to do, but it's slow. It doesn't scale very well. So you need to bang your head over the wall. And back in the day, it used to be the case. Nowadays, it's like, okay, ChatGPT, please fucking do this. And it's just going to give you the most efficient algorithm and it's done. Like, how important is struggle for the newcomers? And like what's the problem with juniors that you personally see?
Yeah, we definitely see a change in the effort put in by the juniors. Let's say, well, it is a problem because, as we all know, by struggling, by putting in the effort, you basically create better connections
Yeah.
in your brain, and those connections are probably solved for problem solving. So yeah, I think basically we can expect less talented problem solvers
You mean
from
more
them.
mediocrity?
Yeah, and more specificity, so to say. I think newer generations will become um, less generic, but more specific to some technology or something that they learned, but they don't fully understand, or they didn't correlate with some other technology, which can actually make them more flexible in work.
Yeah, because the problem is tomorrow, once they get hired, they are your colleague. And now it's your responsibility, or not even your responsibility. They might do something which breaks the whole thing, or maybe ruins the reputation of the company and whatnot. My other question was, okay, there's concepts to learn and whatnot, but is there like motivation and time for that for them? Since management is incentivized on profits, as every company is, why would they give a shit on whether you do it in one day or in 1 hour? If you do it in one day and you're a junior, you learn a new design pattern, you learn how to do stuff more efficient, good for you. If you did it in 1 hour, still good for you, because I don't give a shit. Like, I'm a manager, I care this stuff is delivered as fast as possible so you can work on the next task, you know? Like, is there motivation for people to learn anything new? And if it's not, then how do you balance between excellence, which is what makes us good engineers and we make well educated decisions, versus business needs and management being satisfied, I would say?
Yeah, I don't want to generalize, but I think the majority would take the short path.
Yeah.
And that's actually being encouraged in, I think, in the majority of companies. So use your AI agents for code completion or code generation.
Yeah.
We should deliver fast, but well, that will have side effects that we might see in the future. On some occasions, I must say that even some of my students, because I used to teach at the Technical University of Moldova.
Yeah.
Yeah, so some students, they actually preferred to talk to me, to offer some alternatives and talk to me and see which one is better, and really dive into the subject because I don't know, because of interest, maybe they saw some value into it. But yeah, I was happy to see such
You mean
enthusiasm.
they try to avoid using AI and talk to you directly and ask you what you think about this and that?
Yeah, and also they were doing it themselves.
Yeah.
Even if they were using AI for some code generation, I don't think that they would just, not look into it and understand it. They were definitely using it to just not waste too much time.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
saying people shouldn't use AI.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is use AI to outsource routine tasks. You don't want to spend 20 minutes on something that you've done 100 times. It's just taking you time to do it. So outsource that stuff to AI. 100% agree. However, when you delegate your critical thinking skills, your decision process to AI, that's when I have a problem, because you no longer think, you no longer take the decision rationally with your brain. So instead of taking a decision which is actually benefiting businesses, you're actually just trusting everything to AI, and you're just validating. In some cases, you're not even validating. Like, I can put my hand in the fire. Tomorrow we go, like, let's run an experiment. You go interview a company, you get hired, you are assigned your first task, you open a pull request. The code doesn't even compile. You have like a bug or something, and somebody, I am quite sure somebody will approve that pull request without even diving into details. That's, I would say, the level of mediocrity we got into. And people don't even ask for review these days. People are like, can you approve this? They don't say, can you review this? Meaning, pull the fucking branch, run the code, see if it compiles, and run the tests, see if they pass, and then have some opinions. Then check the ticket, see if the ticket actually matches the implementation, and then there you go. You can write some comments. People just fucking approve, or they have opinions, but they didn't even check the code or didn't run the code. You know?
Yeah, like, that's a good one.
Are we living in an epidemic of, let's say, mediocrity nowadays?
There are definitely signs. And I think AI is not only the only thing to blame. I would blame basically social media, shorts, this, instant gratification that people get.
I did this in 5 minutes. Look how fast I built a product with Lovable and shit. Like, there's even jobs for no code, like no code developers, whatever the name of the no code solution is. Like Lovable, what is it? Cursor. Like, there's a bunch of solutions with just, they're good. Don't get me wrong. They're really good. They deliver the thing. The problem is, the moment you try to slightly modify that product which was generated in 5 minutes, that's when the problem arrives. Because it works on the same context window basically, and the moment it grows bigger, it summarizes things, and then it summarized it wrong, and then it changed the wrong thing, and then you're like praying to the gods, LLM, please fix this, please make it work.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, I see mediocrity, and I see it both as a good thing and as a bad thing. The good thing about it is specialists like you and I will have more work to do. The bad thing is somebody will have to pick up this pile of shit and eventually figure out what's going on. Somebody will have to pick up, as we used to call it, legacy code. Nowadays, I would say AI shit generated code, and try to make sense of it, try to basically figure out the issues. On that note, I wanted to ask, have we reached, let's call it, AI creativity saturation? In other words, AI was trained on the code which already exists, and the code which already exists is not perfect. And like, how can you get better results than what's already been generated, I guess, by humans?
Well, I certainly hope not. I guess the solution would be for us to do a better job in the future. If we're not satisfied by what is being generated, we should basically make the conclusion that this is what we get after what we have done in the past.
Right.
So maybe we shouldn't rely on it 100%. Maybe we should put in some effort to basically improve what we'll have in the future, and what might actually serve as training data set in the future.
What's your prediction, since you mentioned future? What is your vision of the future for the software development, let's say the next 5 years? Do you think it's that fast as it's advertised, as you said, on social media? Or it's not actually that big of a deal? We're probably going to do the same software engineering. Maybe it's going to be a little bit more automated, augmented into our day-to-day lives, but we're still going to require software engineers that know what the fuck is going on, that actually solve problems. Yes, they use LLMs and whatnot, but they actually take the decision. They actually implement solutions, so to say.
About the automation, I think it will be some of the processes will be automatic, will become automatic for sure. I certainly hope that we will see more standardization in the programming languages.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't need that many languages. Let's just see what are the best capabilities of each language and come up with
You want
maybe
like a universal programming language of sorts? You want to make Java the universal programming language?
Java, probably not, because it has its problems. Maybe not only one, but let's just look into each language.
Yeah.
Basically, categorize them by
niche. What
yeah,
they're solving.
yeah.
I think it's already the case if you, because that's how I typically choose any kind of solution, whether it's databases, languages. Like you want to go AI, you're probably going to go Python. You want to go, let's say, web, it's a bit more complicated because there's so many languages. And again, the scale, it depends again on what kind of scale we're talking about. If you want to go efficient web, you're going to go Java, C++, something around. If you want to go somewhat of an efficient web, like something decent, something small to medium, Node.js is fine, PHP is fine. Like, I guess on the web it's more complicated. You want to go super efficient, no garbage collector. There's different languages that do just that. I think we're reached that point where we have, let's say, niche-based languages. At the same time, it's fun. I don't know. I am for more diversity when it comes to languages, because what that does in the process is it forces other languages to improve. And maybe there's like a new emerging design slash architecture which just brings more value. But I would love to see also, this is like the first time I hear this kind of idea, having a more uniform, let's say, call it general purpose language, although they all are, and have this language do all kinds of shit. But I would say that's kind of impossible, because like every single time a new language comes up, it tries to solve, like they have like the customer base, the problem they're solving. Like this language was made for concurrency, or that language was made for, I don't know, memory safety and whatnot. And that's what it comes down to. I think there's value in that, but at the same time, what you're saying is also interesting and compelling.
Yeah, and one thing that we might see in the future is basically the synergy of natural languages and
Like
programming
trying to
languages.
define, uh yeah, I mean, I don't know, like every single time I try to think of logic and
Hmm.
prototyping, I think in terms of programming terms. Like there's a variable, there's a constant, there's a function, there's a, I don't know, a class, whatever the language is, a class, a module, a struct, whatever. And you think this in terms of, like, you think systematically, so to say. But what if instead of thinking systematically within the box and framework which that language has, maybe you think, as you said, just in sentences, like I want a product which does this, has that. The problem with that, however, you're too generic, you're not specific enough.
Hmm.
Like, how should we allocate the memory, how should we do this, where should we spend the time, how efficient this is. Like, this is becoming a really quickly, this is becoming subjective, and you can no longer tell a computer how to behave. Like with C, I think C is like the most accurate language on, I am telling this computer exactly what it should do. And even
Hmm.
if what I'm telling it to do is going to shoot myself in the foot, that's exactly what it's going to do. And there's no safety, there's no nothing. And that's the beauty, I guess.
Yeah, makes sense. If you want to go deep or close to the CPU, you can go C, you can go assembly. Um, I just mentioned natural language because basically LLMs are now used and basically thrown in a lot of projects
But they're more
nowadays.
like of an interface. Like they're the interface between human language and, let's say, computer slash machine language.
Hmm.
So I'm curious if natural language is the end language, if there's no interface between the two. Like I'm keen to see that happen, I guess. Like at the moment, there's a bridge between the human language and or natural language and the machine language, which is bytes basically. And if you eliminate that bridge, I mean, in the end, you're still going to execute bytes. But I'm just curious if there's going to be some kind of, I don't know, compiler / linker for human language to binary. And how is that going to work? How is that going to be deterministic in a way?
Yeah, I don't see that working. The only thing that might work, and maybe we already see, is using natural language for basically specifying the business logic.
Yeah.
After that, LLM does the natural language understanding. And after that, it basically delegates the responsibilities to machine code or even in programming languages. So, yeah, it's like no code solutions. It's basically prompt engineering. let's put it like that. And I think we see this with MCPs, another hype.
There's
nowadays.
a funny opinion about MCP that there's like a saying that there's more MCP implementation than actual users. Do you agree with that? Because most people don't give a shit about MCPs.
Yeah, that's for me. MCP is like TikTok. It became a big thing, like instantly. I didn't even notice it, and then everybody is talking about it.
Yeah, like the fact, like I don't know. There's this FOMO. I don't know if you're familiar with the terms, like fear of missing out.
Oh, okay.
So there's this FOMO effect, especially on fucking LinkedIn. And like if somebody's talking about something concerning AI, it means you're probably living under a rock. There's like a new term you're not familiar with, and you should probably try it out and you should probably implement it in your product and whatnot. When in reality, maybe it's something you don't even need. Maybe you don't even need to put AI in the product in the first place. Maybe it works, just it like how about you focus on the bugs you have in the backlog? Like that would be good in a way.
Yeah, MCP is definitely being used for its hype. I think also some people might be using MCP, but they don't even realize that, because basically this is LLMs using tools, external tools. That's I don't even agree with the name of it.
Yeah.
Model context protocol. I wouldn't call it a protocol because
just call it a USB.
Yeah. This is like I tend to make an analogy to REST, which is an architectural style.
Yeah.
It's basically a way to communicate with some third-party tool.
It's like an interface, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where this abbreviation came from, but
I mean, we need there's this, especially in the West, you need a fancy name for everything. Whoever it is, actually, I never got with. Do you remember Ajax?
Yeah.
And everyone was associating that with the solution you're cleaning the toilet with. Oh. And then it means some asynchronous JavaScript and who the fuck uses XML? But people still use the term Ajax. But everybody moved away from XML long since. Everybody's using JSON on the web, at least.
That's right.
Yeah, and the name is still in the acronym. So some acronyms are funny and really old, I guess.
Acronyms for me maybe make sense when this name or term is being repeatedly used. But I think this, especially nowadays, it looks like tribal knowledge, so to say. So basically knowledge which not everyone understands, but it's everywhere. Yeah. And it's a problem that is not understood by everyone because it's everywhere. So
yeah, but that's not the point. It's the hype, you go with the crowd. As you said, tribalistic. People are tribalistic. You want to belong. You don't want to miss out on stuff. You want to be cool as everyone else is. You wanna, I don't know, have certifications as people do. You wanna, I don't know, write articles and shit about MCP, about whatever. Like you want to be relevant as a company. You may not fucking need AI, but you're going to shove AI down the, like you're going to send email campaigns. You're going to introduce AI whether you need it or not. Some companies are on the brink of dying if they don't introduce AI. For example, Google, right? The fact that they went Gemini was a good move, even though they fucked up with their initial demo. But the fact that some companies push other companies to innovate, that's a good thing. I appreciate that. But the fact that there's products which are perfectly working, there's no need for AI, and they just fucking shove it down your throat, that's a bit annoying. Although it depends, like if there's anything that's software, let's say not hardware, maybe it makes sense to introduce AI. But you really need to ask your users, would you guys love to, like, you need to keep the finger on the pulse in a way. And if you've lost contact with reality as a product manager, as let's say as the person who provides services, then I don't know, like, why are you building it in the first place?
Yeah, customer validation basically decides on whether it makes sense to do that or not. That well, again, the need dictates the decisions, or they should probably.
On the other hand, there's no bad marketing, any kind of marketing is good marketing. Like if everybody's doing AI, why not fucking do AI? It's popular, it's gonna get me some attention, some possibly new customers and whatnot. As you know, that joke, somebody was collecting funds, and he misspelled API. Instead of writing API, he wrote AI, and he by accident got way more funds than he was planning to initially, which is funny.
Didn't know that. Yeah.
I wanna maybe go back a little bit on mediocrity and like your opinion on code reviews. Do you think code reviews in 2025 are still relevant? Should we still do them? Is there a better way to do it? Like, what's the deal with them?
Yeah, so code reviews, I think they should always be relevant. Well, that's why we have teammates, unless you're single on the project. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there are some initiatives to use AI agents in code reviews and basically get like a digest on the changes, or maybe the impact of those changes to your project. But of course, you will have to give it context on your project, which might not always be possible because of client requirements, maybe. Yeah, and also I think it depends on your role. If you are the team leader, you should perform definitely thorough code review with pulling the changes, executing, and all that kind of stuff. If I'm a secondary code reviewer, my routine would be like first iteration checking the clean code principles if they are obeyed or not.
Yeah.
Second iteration, maybe it's logical mistakes that might happen. And third iteration, I don't know.
Nitpicking.
Yeah, maybe just leave some comments. Just
like rename this variable to that variable. Yeah. Those are fine. I mean, I do that myself. I'm guilty of that. Like, there's this joke with code reviews. 3 out of 4 developers enjoy code reviews, and there's an image of one guy sitting or being down, and 3 other guys punishing him and beating him up. Yeah, it's funny. Would you say they're important though? Because there's like this idea, as you mentioned, let's fucking use AI to validate our code if it's good code or not good code, when, as you said, it may lack the context.
Yeah, they're important. I think the time that we might end up spending on fixing something could be actually avoided, the waste of time, I mean.
Yeah.
Just by, looking into it and making sure everything is okay.
I really like how one of my guests put it, like, code reviewing is like watching somebody's Facebook feed. You just check what this person did and just play with it if you want. You can, as you mentioned, like if you're, and on that note, like you mentioned, secondary reviewer and whatnot. And on that note, I was wondering, like, how many like approvals is a code supposed to have if there's more than 3 people in the team, let's say. And the other thing would be, like how do you, I don't know, measure the quality of the code? I would say, let's say if there's disagreements in the team, how do you get past that?
Yeah, so regarding the number of reviewers, um, I had different approaches. I think on some occasions it was like the team leader should approve. It's like mandatory for
It's
him.
like the, what was it called on GitHub? It was code owners, I think.
I'm not familiar with that.
There's like you add certain, like either a group name or
Mhm.
like certain users, and they're like the power users of the repo, in other
Oh,
words.
okay.
So if they approve, everything goes well. If somebody else approves but they don't have the approval of the code owner,
Mhm.
then you still need like the code owner approval of sorts.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And I think it was usually like two code reviews, and I mean, sorry, two approves, because until the
Yeah,
approval you need
yeah,
to
yeah.
pass the code review, and that would be it. Maybe that would be enough. It depends, I think, on the specifics of the team and
Yeah, if it's a
how they
small team,
organize.
it can cut a bit some of the corners to deliver faster, I guess.
Hmm.
And that's what I've been doing in like every single time I was part of startups. No code reviews, and then slightly introduce code reviews, and then let's improve this part. Let's improve, because it's just so much faster.
Hmm.
Whereas if everything is code reviewed, it's gonna be so much slower. Uh, More on code reviews, I guess. Part of what good code looks like is if it's also tested or
Hmm.
testable. What's your opinion of tests? Let's say, should people waste or spend their time on unit tests, or they should just say, fuck it, we'll go straight to integration tests, end-to-end tests? Should they write tests at all? And what's your opinion on test-driven development? Do we live in a broken world where it doesn't make sense to do it, or is it something which is actually possible in the real life?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's possible always. It should.
Yeah,
That actually can save you a lot of pains and time in the long term. If you intend to throw out the whole project in a month,
yeah,
maybe you can just avoid that. I actually worked on such a project when basically the team leaders just told us directly that we might throw everything and start from scratch, so don't mind about testing and best practices too much.
yeah.
I don't enjoy working on such
And then that
projects.
becomes the fucking thing.
Yeah.
Because I know like there's this oh, let's not pay too much attention, let's do it better later, let's this is just a POC, and then that fucking POC becomes the real project, and then you
Hmm.
inherit bad code, and then you have to deal with that.
Yeah, and let's say you have some spare time, you can think of some refactoring. Having a good test suite can actually save you time of checking if everything is okay after the refactoring. So I see value in that, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
And about yeah,
Test
test
driven
driven
development, yeah, yeah.
development. Yeah, I think that's like the utopia, the ideal case.
Every
If
single time I tried it, every single time it was like a really big mistake, because you're just wasting so much time. Like the thing about development is you don't always fully know the requirements or the acceptance criteria.
Mhm.
And as you develop it, you go back and forth, ask questions, figure details out. And if you do the tests first, and every single time you go back and forth, and then your tests every single time change back and forth, then you don't have the actual time to do the implementation. Where if you spend the time to do the implementation, you add the tests, you push the whole thing to the main branch, somebody else comes along, it breaks it, the tests will fail, then that's value. And you didn't waste your time writing the tests first and then the implementation. If you, let's say, follow the agile practices 101
Mhm.
according to the book 100%, maybe it makes sense. But still, like in a real world scenario, you don't have the requirements, at least not all of them. And then test driven development just goes out the window, I would say.
Yeah, makes sense. If you're talking about agile, or at least the agility that client wants, it might not be feasible because everything changes quite often. But yeah, still, I like this approach, this development approach,
Yeah.
because um, yeah, developers will tend to not do tests, but if they are supposed to do it from the beginning, they will end up having, ideally,
More on that. More on
yeah.
that. Was wondering if you had to choose. Let's say you're running a project. You had to choose between tests being optional versus tests being mandatory, and they must be part of the same pull request. What would be the option?
Yeah, I would go with tests definitely. I
Because if you do it like optional, or as people, or some people have like different approaches. Some people do it all in one go, and it's easy
Mhm,
to review where the implementation is, where the test is. Are you actually testing everything? Are you actually covering everything with tests? And some people do it with separate tickets. And the problem with separate tickets, they are long forgotten to dos. They just
mhm.
remain to dos in the backlog. We'll do it someday, someday in the future with like a sunny day, but not today. And yeah, that's how you get technical debt. I would say.
Interesting. I never heard of this approach, doing the tests like in a separate. Do people do that?
I think yeah, like there's like a sneaky, let's say, exit,
Mm,
or let's say it's a sneaky way to avoid writing tests as a developer. You say like, I will not do it in this ticket, but I created this ticket and I added it to do in the code. So at some point in the future, somebody will see the to do and probably pick it up, or maybe you have like a grooming session
mm,
and you pick that ticket up as part of technical debt. The problem with technical debt is you can't really sell technical debt to the client when you go to the client. And that's why I would say when you develop a feature, it's the easiest way to sell either technical debt or refactoring,
mhm,
because you deliver a feature, the client is happy. At the same time, you are happy because you clean up your code, you cover your code with more tests and whatnot, and everybody is kind of happy, uh, but yeah, like more on tests. What's your opinion on coverage and the people that like strive for the highest coverage? What coverage is good enough? What coverage is not enough? What's your approach on this one?
I'm not sure if I'm the person to talk about it because, funny thing, I actually ended up lowering the coverage for the CI to go through all the CI pipeline, one
Yeah,
time,
yeah, yeah.
because we needed to deliver, which I'm not proud of course. But if I remember correctly, one best practice would be like to have at least 80% or so.
That's not at least, dude. That's like a
Oh,
lot.
oh, okay.
For most projects, that's a lot. Like some projects don't even have 30% or so. Yeah, because there's like some people who are like hardcore, die hard on we have to have 100% test coverage, and they just test anything, especially with unit tests. Like there's good value in unit tests when you mock everything, when you test the business logic, but also the code has to be testable in order for you to have unit tests.
Yeah.
But there's sometimes like stupid unit tests just for the sake of improving the coverage. And those in those kind of tests I don't see the value. So I would just do integration tests and then unit tests for the business logic, which integration tests cannot cover. For example, there's like 3 branches, and let's say your integration tests will most of the times fail in the first branch, so you
Hmm.
cannot technically possibly test the other 2 branches because you would need to simulate like a database error, which doesn't really happen in an integration test. Whereas with a unit test, you could say, "Hey, throw this error whenever this happens," and it's easy to simulate that specific scenario. So there's value in that, but I would say you have to be careful what you're testing, because you might be spending time unnecessarily on writing stuff that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's visible like in the future of the project when you have cases, for example, a newcomer comes to the project and the senior tells him or her, don't mind the failing tests, those are integration tests and
Like
not
that dog,
important.
it's all fine and everything's on fire.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I never understood that.
what's your approach to refactoring? Because there's people, like, you have people on two extremes. There's developers that would just close their eyes on anything, and if they have a feature, they'll just add the small thing or change the small thing and don't give a shit. And then there's developers that will use any opportunity to refactor the entire project when they had to just make one small change. What's your opinion on this? And when do you go, okay, I'm going to close my eyes, I'll just add this small thing, versus, no, fuck that, we need to refactor this thing first and then we'll add this feature?
Yeah, first off, kudos to those guys who, refactor or clean the project with any occasion.
Yeah.
I tend to do that. I really like seeing the results of a good refactoring, but I think I gotta stop when the refactoring gets too big and maybe I'm actually changing stuff that I will need to test, but that stuff is not really in the scope of my ticket.
Yeah.
So I think, at least in my opinion, as long as it is in the boundaries of my ticket, I can refactor stuff or clean some dead code.
Yeah, because
Something.
otherwise managers will just start asking questions, make a weird look, like, why the fuck are you working on that?
Yeah.
For me, it's always like, okay, there's this deadline. How much of that deadline I can maybe steal away by making things better, by cleaning up after somebody else or after myself?
Hmm.
And if it's a tight deadline, you just like, okay, I don't give a shit. I'll just do whatever is necessary. I will not refactor anything. But at some point, you reach the level where without refactoring, it's no longer possible,
Hmm.
and you just have to, I guess, bring the bad news to the management and say, hey, we're reaching, like, it's really hard at this point to add a new extra window to this entire house that we have because of how old and legacy everything is. And at that point, you just need to sell hardcore refactoring without any features. So we clean up the mess first, and then we sell features on top of that.
Regarding this, I think on a project when we reached such a point, they actually ended up replatforming
Yeah,
the project,
meaning
uh,
rewriting the whole thing.
rewriting and going to microservices basically from monolithic architecture, uh, because client wanted that. Um, I think on another occasion, I tried to make it like I'm implementing something while doing some refactoring.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't like a big thing to be implemented, so to say. I was just lucky, I guess, because the product owners were like data scientists, and maybe they didn't really understand the development that much, the development effort, so to say.
Is that a privileged position to be in nowadays? Let's say being a data scientist slash ML engineer, I don't know, 5 years ago was one thing. Being a data scientist slash ML engineer in 2025 is a whole different thing. It's like regular engineers are kicked in their ass in a way if
Hmm.
you analyze the job market and how they struggle. And then you have people doing AI, and they're like the bread and butter of this software engineering era we live in. Is this a privileged position? You could say maybe you chill out a little bit more if you were to write software, like good old microservices, REST APIs, any kind of API, like the typical job of a software engineer, taking data from somewhere and moving it somewhere else.
Yeah, I know what you mean. They are definitely privileged, especially data scientists, because they're
Nobody
basically.
asks questions like, okay, we trust you, the gods.
Yeah.
We trust you'll do the best job, and we'll have this fancy thing,
Yeah, and do your magic and improve our income by a lot. Provide some, you know, big decisions for us, which is not the case. I think this trend is actually ending. I don't see actually that much demand on data science nowadays. I'm not sure about you, because
You mean data science in a sense of like custom implementations, like somebody having their own model that they need to train and whatnot?
Data science roles in general, I think it's less demand right now.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I'm not sure when it started. Maybe a couple of years ago, there was a little bit of hype and a lot of demand. A lot of companies thought that we need a data scientist to, analyze our data, see what's wrong, make some decisions, conclusions, and we will basically spike our revenue.
Yeah.
And after some time, they saw that that's not always the case. The data scientist can actually tell you that your data is garbage and you can't really change something.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to multiple like people working in the industry of data science, and what they can confirm is they used to struggle a lot more back in the day, because back in the day companies didn't want to invest. It was a risky investment. Like,
Mhm.
it's a way better investment if we add a new backend engineer, which is gonna increase the delivery by a few more story points every single sprint, versus adding a data engineer or a data science engineer who's going to work on some, let's say, notebook, which is going to stay a notebook and it will never reach the end of life,
Mhm.
or it will never see the, let's say, light at the end of the tunnel. And for that reason, many data science projects back in the day failed or didn't even get started. And clients were kind of cautious on whether they want to spend the money on that. Nowadays, they just throw money at it, I would say.
Mhm.
But I don't know, like, it's an interesting concept that maybe thanks to how good the LLMs are, maybe they can like outsource this process of data analyzing to LLMs. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think there is also the trend didn't end. I mean, there is still demand on data science. Um, but just from my perspective, I see a little bit of switch to more demand on MLOps or data engineering.
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually might be a very good point. Maybe companies are trying to build up the necessary infrastructure for the LLMs to work appropriately and bring some value.
Yeah, everybody's replaceable. At
Hmm.
some point, like, this is the hard thing. And sometimes I'm like, is making things simple, testable, documentable, and this and that, and all the best practices actually something that you want to do? Or maybe you want to maintain some kind of job security level. If you
Hmm.
do a shitty job or a good enough job, not the best job, maybe you're the person who is the documentation in that company. Whereas if you do an
Mm,
incredibly good job, then what's going to happen is everything is so easily picked up by anyone who joins that you're like, the company is going to be like, okay, fuck it, we no longer need you. Some people, I guess,
mm.
fear job security in a way.
Yeah, I don't like that, intentional fuck ups or I don't know, this single point of failure or knowledge. I think generally everyone should do a good enough job
Yeah.
to not harden the life of someone else. Yeah, just that's just being a good person, I guess.
Yeah, somebody said complexity or simplicity is hard because complexity pays off better. In other words, it's easier to push bullshit. It's easier to do a shit job, and you actually get some benefits, especially with the level of mediocrity rising nowadays. Because if you do a shit job, it's going to be quick, instant gratification, results for the client, everybody's happy. And if shit goes to the fan, then you're going to pick up a new bug and whatnot, improvement and whatnot. Whereas
Hmm.
if you do everything according to the book, best practices, it's going to take more time. Managers will ask questions, you'll get weird looks, you might potentially be fired. Like, what's the fucking incentive to actually do and write quality software nowadays when you can do a shit job, maintain the job, and everybody's happy at the same time? Like, I sometimes ask myself that, like, does it really matter, unless it's my fucking product, does it really matter to go for the highest quality for that product?
It might be the case, and it might bring you value if you strive to maybe
Learn.
learn. That's one thing. Um, Brag about it, and maybe go somewhere else and basically tell them, I had a big release,
Yeah.
everything was successful, the team is happy with the code quality, and I can do that for you as well. So, but if the intent of the person is to basically just sit at this project for a long time,
Yeah.
uh, the approach changes. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say people no longer look for that. And yeah, the job market has drastically changed.
Hmm.
If back in the day you would look for, or engineers would be those beautiful gems, super rare people, and you wanted the best of them to belong to your company. Nowadays, you just want monkey jobs. Like, I want the person who's gonna eat the most shit and deliver the biggest output. So, as much signal, as little noise as possible. Noise being best practices, code reviews, all the stuff which takes a lot of time and doesn't bring me value. In other words, doesn't bring me features. So
Hmm.
if there's a person who doesn't give a shit, who pushes a lot of things, maybe that's value to me, and maybe I don't care about all these best practices. And that's also a valid point, I would say.
In this case, if we get rid of the noise, there is no passion, and I wouldn't personally want to work in a team and at a project where I don't see passion. Let's say, because that's maybe I idealize it a bit, but that actually can motivate someone to do a good job, test what he or she did. When there is no motivation, uh, those developers will tend to skimp on work, to not test, to just push everything to production, and we end up having what we have: a lot of bugs, problems, less delivery, I would say.
How important is for us engineers, to do something with passion? Because you see this AI assisted development push where delivery is the main thing. I mean, delivery has always been the main thing because it's all about money.
Mhm.
Companies want to make money, and they'll say, when is it done? When is it done? They'll just constantly nag you on that. So, how important is, let's put it in these terms, how important is to balance between software excellence and having passion and actual business needs?
I think passion basically makes you continue what you do, even though it might not be always fun, especially with pressure from business, from, I don't know, management. So, someone who's passionate, especially about the project or the subject or the field they work in, they can they can overcome some obstacles like pressure, unmet deadlines, or things like that. If not, those can just switch projects or go to another company, which is not ideal for the business because you need to onboard someone else.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, passion. Also, passion can make you do some extra miles sometimes. Um, it's not mandatory, to do some cleaning or refactoring.
Especially when it's passion on a Friday. Let me
Yeah.
just add this new change, which is gonna break the whole thing.
Yeah, well, I guess passion should end on Thursday and resum on Monday.
Yeah, yeah,
let's
yeah.
let's put it like that. But yeah, just I think as in any field, if you're passionate about what you're doing, you will do it right. Otherwise, you might do a not so good job.
Is there motivation for passion with all these LLMs that we have? And how important is for, let's say, a junior to have this passion, right?
Hmm.
Like, it depends how you define passion. Like, at the time when we were starting, passion, I guess, was we had the desire for building software, for being impactful through software, through solving problems, right? Nowadays, I would say passion is more of a, I guess you could put it, incentive. it's a financial incentive, I would say. It's more of a financial incentive and less of a software excellence incentive as it used to be the times. Like I remember times when there are still companies that do that way, where you have people competing among each other, who has like the best software, who's doing the best, I don't know, implementation of something. And you have the opposite. We have companies like the main thing is delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Like take Facebook, right? Facebook and Google. Google will take forever to put something out there, but it's going to be really good. And Facebook will just push all the shit every single day. Like their apps are so buggy all the time. Yeah. It's just a different approach, different shift in mindset. And I guess, as you said, like there's business needs and you kind of have to compromise. It, I guess, depends what kind of style you like. I am of the same opinion as you. I like having my, I mean, I understand there's business value I have to deliver. At the same time, I also understand that it's also me that's going to be working with that software a week, a month, maybe a year after that. And if I create myself an environment that is toxic and detrimental, then it's also going to be me who's going to work with that stuff, you know?
Yeah, that's right. And also, so you mentioned about money being what motivates people.
Yeah.
Well, I guess in that case, people will choose always the short path, and it wouldn't be a problem to get some generated code. Um, in my case, I even if it's generated, I need to put my final touch or multiple touches because
That's very important. Like you
yeah.
mentioned, a very important thing. Like as engineers, we should as much as possible avoid to outsource our critical thinking skills. Outsource routine, yes,
Hmm.
but critical thinking skills should always remain with the developer, with the person who's implementing the solution. The moment you outsource that, you become as irrelevant as juniors who are just picking it up, are just getting started.
Yeah, makes sense. So maybe it's sometimes even a marketing problem because companies tend to push on using the AI as in to make them do our work, but maybe the the thinking should be a bit different.
Yeah.
Use them to assist us in our work. So yeah, that's one thing that not all the people understand. Well, we will get this code. We will need to make sure that it obeys our best practices. It works. It does what we need, and then maybe to push it. So that would be the ideal approach. Juniors, especially if they come to the company for the money, they probably won't do that. Yeah, we have seen a lot of cases with interns as well when they were not really sure about what that code does,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's a pity for sure. Yeah.
What's Let's say the decision of hiring or not hiring a junior was up to you.
Mhm.
How would you pick which juniors get hired over other juniors based on skills? Like what should be the number one, or let's say top two skills a junior should have in order for them to be picked up? And let's say you have, I don't know, a few seniors which are also competing with them. When would you pick a junior over a senior?
Yeah, I think sometimes seniors might actually be maybe they already lost their passion.
Yeah.
Back to the passion thing, and maybe they're not that hardworking as a junior, especially juniors fresh out of university with fresh problem solving skills. So if you see that kind of junior which doesn't really cut corners and use code generation for everything, that's value right there. Maybe they don't need have the experience, the enterprise grade experience yet, but yeah, they will definitely bring value to the company. So I think it depends on how much work that developer wants to put in.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you see that a senior maybe mm, isn't ready to put that much work in, and
Always finds an excuse for not doing stuff.
yeah, that's not the right attitude, I guess.
Let me ask you this then. I'm sure you've interacted with a bunch of seniors, especially, let's say, in your beginning of your career.
Hmm.
What would you say a senior or most seniors should unlearn? Like, what's one trait that you see very often in senior people? One thing is you mentioned passion.
Hmm.
They probably lost their passion because they have seen pretty much everything and they kind of are either bored or they just wanna they just like the comfort zone, which is a dangerous place to be in. What would you say they should unlearn? Because they already have their practices, their habits, and whatnot.
Um, yeah, that's a good question. Probably something that we can see in really experienced seniors is skepticism towards AI.
Yeah.
They might not be that admissive, or they might not accept AI that easy. Uh, that's understandable, I guess. But really experienced people should be up to date with what's going around and the trends, I think.
How do you balance between being up to date, as you said, and actually filtering out the bullshit? Because there's so much information out there. There's so much engagement slash clickbait.
Hmm.
Like I would assume you don't have time for every single new thing in quotes. You gotta have like an ability to say this is bullshit. I want to focus on that. This is the new thing.
Yeah, I think one approach that could help with this is learning by analogy. So if you see a lot of new trends, it helps to maybe make an analogy, or, well, first to understand what that specific thing is. If that's the same thing as some other old technology or approach, but with a different name, just forget it.
Yeah.
If it's something that you can see that it really solves a problem, maybe it's something interesting to look into. But if it's just a buzzword over something that you have used before, yeah, we can just ignore it. Like, actually, to open a parenthesis, like MCP, I mean, I saw LLMs using tools before, so a lot of people, even at our company, were not sure about what MCP means, but
Yeah.
they were so enthusiastic about it. We need
Just
to use
because
it.
everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, but no one does understand it. So I think at that point you should just point out that this thing was actually being used before. Is just a buzzword. Don't pay too much attention to it. It's not magic.
How do you balance between going super narrow and going super deep into something?
Hmm.
Because you can spend your time learning new frameworks, technologies, databases, or you could really hone your craft. Let's say you want to know this technology really, really well. And is that relevant in this new era of AI and LLMs?
Yeah, nowadays breadth definitely is important. A good software engineer should have a decent depth of breadth of knowledge,
Yeah.
and ideally this breadth should be um, basically trained or developed during, for example, university, or some initial, I don't know, development steps. When you're sure what you want to do for the long term, you basically finish your tea of knowledge and go into depth with something. And well, I guess at some point, if you want to follow some architectural uh, career or ladder, you can go into depth with some other um fields or technologies.
Yeah, makes sense. You mentioned university. I was wondering because there's like as many people, as many opinions on this topic. Is university a good thing, or are people wasting their times? Is it especially with because you could still say the same thing back in the day when you had like Udemy courses popping out. You could say, "Fuck university! I'm not gonna spend 4 years. I'll
Mhm.
just do a boot camp, which is like 2 or 3 months, but I'll get the job." And most companies don't even require a university degree. So is university you would recommend somebody who wants to get into software engineering?
Definitely. I think I'm saying that because I spent way too much time at university, even after I finished university. But yeah, I think it definitely helps. Maybe the curriculum, as we all know, it's old. Some things might not be relevant at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it helps you get that breadth of knowledge, and also basically you're put into the same environment with other people that want the same thing, and other people that are interested into the same thing. So um, yeah, let's put it this way. It makes sense if you will go to the university, interact with as many people as possible, basically build your network, and also participate in extracurricular events.
How important
Yeah.
is it to participate in events like hackathons, for example? Because I know a lot of people exactly for those events.
Mhm.
Like you're competing when you're like a student for like you see a bunch of people, they're all new, they're all trying to do something, and then over the time you remember those people and now they have their own careers, their own like interesting lives and whatnot. But I would say it helped me a lot, at least because that's how I got my first job. I went to a hackathon, and then there were like some guys from Romania participating in that hackathon. They invited us to another hackathon in Romania, and then those guys from Romania like offered me a job, and that was like funny in a way because I never planned on getting a job, but somehow I got the job offer that summer, and I'm like, okay, fuck it, I'll just accept it.
Mhm.
It's like, in your opinion, how important is it to be involved extra? Because there's plenty of extra programs outside university versus just sticking to the script. You just go to the subject, you pass the tests, move on, you get the degree, and then, of course, university require you to have some kind of practice program in different companies and whatnot. But how do you even get to the company in the first place?
Yeah, I think you basically provided the perfect example from your experience. A student can go and basically follow the curriculum and wish for the best.
Yeah.
Basically, just wait for a job to come. Uh, but at the same time, they can go meet a lot of people, maybe even sponsors that actually offer funds to these events to find new employees.
Yeah.
So a lot of opportunities in into this kind of events, especially well opportunities to develop yourself as an engineer, but also career opportunities, and basically you extend your network
I can
much faster.
forget the last 5 clients I worked with. I will never forget the hackathons. Like those will be memories I hold very dear to myself
Hmm.
because it's just fun. You stay until late, or you build something. You don't know what the fuck is going on. You're just discovering frameworks. It's just fun.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
It is as painful as a marathon, but this pain actually is a funny memory when you remember, and also when you think about you and your teammates coming up with a project
Yeah.
in basically 48 hours. That's incredible. Yeah, what great minds can do in a short span of time.
How important is pain for, like, how important is pain and, let's say, lack of abundance for engineers, especially?
I would say in this context, pain can actually condition growth. Um, yeah, if engineers are feeling comfortable, they can just procrastinate on doing the good stuff. If they know that they have 48 hours to do something that will win the whole thing, they will go through discomfort and through pain, through sleep, being sleep deprived.
Yeah.
And yeah, even if you don't win, you get the feeling of accomplishment. And that feeling of accomplishment won't be that big if you didn't go through that pain,
Yeah,
I
you
guess.
win or you learn, you know.
Yeah.
Like how often is it the case, for example, you have, let's talk strict software. How often is it the case that, let's say, you have to do some kind of business logic slash module, you've done it 10 times before, and like there's always a choice, at least when it comes to me. You either copy paste it from a project you did it, you don't change anything, or option number two, you still think you've done a shit job in the previous project and you want to improve it in this one. Like, what's your choice?
I don't want to say it depends. I guess it has its value to just copy paste because that stuff is, I suppose, it is tested. It
Yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah. No,
you
it
know,
works.
yeah.
You're just like, I didn't like something when I
Hmm.
was working with it, but I was too busy to change it.
Hmm.
And now it's the time I'm doing it from scratch again, but it's the same repetitive work. Do you change it or do you just copy it? Don't give a shit. You stay in the comfort zone, basically.
Yeah, a passionate engineer would definitely rewrite it and do a better job. Someone who lost their passion and motivation would go the short way, I guess, in this case.
You mentioned this idea of losing your passion. What makes somebody lose their passion? Is
Hmm.
it toxic company culture? Is it I don't know, a business problem they've faced? Is it they getting bored and they've seen everything and they just don't see anything new? Like what's usually the case?
I think that that might come up from different directions, so to say. So in my case, I was really passionate about algorithms and data structures, about competitive programming.
Yeah.
My passion decreased a bit when I saw that LLMs can basically, solve this kind of problems a lot faster. And well, if you ask again, it will be better then. And if you ask one more time, it will be um, a better version of that solution. So yeah, in my case, it was like this. For someone, I think first we need to think about the fact if that person was passionate initially.
Yeah.
If their initial thought was just to get into this field for the money, well, that's debatable.
Yeah, like is it passion though, or it's more like relevance? Because we see a lot of engineers being proud, and at least it was the case back in the day before LLMs, before this AI boom, where we were kind of the only people who consider ourselves the elite, the one who knows how this works, who came up with like the best algorithms, is the one who were basically treated very well. And now all of this is accessible to like anyone, even somebody at school which has no idea what algorithm means can just prompt engineer itself into, I don't know, into the best performant algorithm for a particular problem, right?
Mhm.
So is it like loss of a passion, or more like becoming less relevant as an engineer?
That's a thing that everybody is thinking about right now, probably. I think we just need to do the things that LLMs can't do. So basically, they can't really take architectural decisions, for example, that that are reliable. So maybe a person that sees that the LLM can do what that person can do, maybe they should just switch their focus on more abstract things like software architecture, because that should be relevant in the future as well, in my opinion.
What's the difference between good software architecture and just huge amount of complexity?
Yeah, a good software architecture, I think, starts from good understanding of the requirements. So if let's say an architect is not that good, but they have done a lot of courses, read a lot of books,
Yeah.
they're basically relying on things that they learned, but they are not able to make decisions based on the requirements that they are given. So first, let's understand really well the requirements. Having a good breadth of knowledge in software architecture helps you basically pick the best options for those specific requirements. And as you have mentioned, we need to make it as simple as possible for everyone to be understandable, this architectural model.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need to make it understandable just for us. Yeah, it's like code. Good code is readable by other developers as well. So good architecture should be as simple as possible, so that maybe even business people would understand it.
Have you heard of the concept of code culting?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's basically when you, like, speaking of good architecture versus bad architecture, it's basically when you import the best practices from the big tech,
Oh,
but without the context that they have.
mm-hmm.
So maybe they have like a big problem they had to solve, and you don't have the same problem, but you just import the best practice that they have, and you claim this is the new thing to do, this is the best practice, so we should do it the same way. What do you think about that approach, and how often do you see that in projects, in companies, and whatnot?
Yeah, we can see that quite often. For example, libraries from Netflix. Well, in this case, I think also problems should dictate the need. If you see a problem in your project, and if that tool library solves this specific problem, of course, yeah, let's import it and use it. But if you're trying to over engineer something that contains one specific aspect that solves your problem, but you also need to do some other things that are totally irrelevant, maybe that's a bit of more than over engineering, yeah, in this case. So as long as we pick exactly what we need, um, that should be fine.
Yeah, I would say I agree, because like I used to do this myself, and because it's the cool thing, like, hey, there's this company who's doing this, we should do it the same. And then you have a team who's like adopting practices which maybe they didn't need to do it in the first place, and it's a bit of a bummer because like you're over engineering, as you said.
Hmm.
And as engineers, a lot of the times we like to, especially when we're just learning stuff, you like to play with new toys. Like you always like to play with new toys. Like if you had the chance to, I don't know, to work with the same tools that you've worked in the previous project versus try to employ some new tools, you would obviously choose the latter option, because then you can brag that you've used this tool in this new project, as opposed to using the same exact tool as you used in the previous project.
Hmm.
So you, like, I guess, have to balance between what makes sense versus as well as learning something new, that's the, like, the hard balance for some engineers, I would say. They want to learn new stuff at the expense of the business, if you will. Like if it
Yeah.
makes sense, you should, I guess, if it makes sense that the business or somebody above who's like an architect decided you should use this database or this framework or this language, and you happen to also not know it and it's a learning experience, that's cool. But if you're just picking up a new tool in order for you to learn it and experiment on this new project, then I guess you're sacrificing the business for the sake of just learning something new.
Yeah, I just remembered one case when we basically, well, the e-commerce platform basically needed only server-side rendering, but some front-end developer wanted really to, just push some React into it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was weird, and that branch was never merged actually. Also wanted to mention about big companies, big tech companies. We shouldn't forget that those companies probably deal with non-functional requirements of another magnitude, probably.
True, true.
Yeah, they deal with really big data.
They have like a whole different context. Like the problem is not of the same scale, basically.
Mhm. If we deal with the same kind of problems and data volume, maybe it would make sense to replicate something. Um, I guess in this case.
Maybe let's go back to AI, because this is a huge hot topic. And we've touched a little bit on the predictions, futures, and whatnot. And I've actually watched the interview with Joe Rogan and Elon Musk. I'm curious to what extent you believe AI will replace developers. Because there's this notion of anything that almost feels mechanical, especially when it comes to software. Anything you do on a computer basically can be automated by AI in the next 5 to 10 years. What's your take on this? Will the job of a software engineer die as we all know it? Is it going to shift, transform into something new, maybe?
Die, probably not. It shouldn't,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Transform into something new, definitely. I think it will, and probably it should become AI assisted development. I wouldn't personally let the AI slash LLM take decisions for me.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't, because if there's something wrong, and we cannot just blame AI. Yeah, we will be the ones to blame. We did that. If in the hypothetical case where LLMs basically do the development, I'm not sure who's to blame if there's anything going wrong. And especially when dealing with human lives, I mean, yeah, taking as an example self-driving cars, I'm not sure if that's 100% reliant on AI right
Yeah,
now.
like people talk about like taxi drivers will go out of business because you have autonomous cars, and then like developers, at least junior to mid, will go out of business because most of that can be automated by AI. Content or like copywriting like will be taken out by Gen AI, and all of these claims, which are pretty bold, and still people like hire SMM people. People still have call centers. People still have taxi and cab drivers. Like, yeah, like to what extent this is a hype, and to what extent this is actually something we should be concerned about in the future.
Yeah, I think, well, it is, in my opinion, more a hype than a future reality. Again, we cannot really rely 100% on the AI, because there was no one accountable. I mean, OpenAI can become accountable in this case, um, but well, at the same time, they can just reply that you knew the possible consequences, but you chose to use our software, which is a valid point, I guess, in this case.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What about juniors? Like, because I see this trend a lot. A lot of solopreneurs, a lot of people that just bootstrap their product. They they do a good enough job to land on the market. They snatch some clients, and then they quickly realize they need somebody who actually should maintain that product. So what they've essentially done without them realizing is they've destroyed all the market of juniors because they did it themselves with the help of LLM. And now they're looking for seniors to maintain the product because only a senior is capable enough of understanding what's bullshit, what's not bullshit, what should be like the architecture in this case, where should this product go, how should it scale, how should it be more scalable, and what's the way to do that if it makes sense. So in this case, you have the juniors, right, who are the next generation. The question is, how do we bridge the gap between the current generation, which are already employed, they have jobs, and they become senior, and the young generation, the people that have fresh blood, they want to pick it up. But when you look at the job market, you look at the requirements and the experience you must have before you even get an opportunity to work. That's crazy. How do you bridge the gap? Like, how do you, as an engineer who, not even as an engineer, as a junior, how do you get into the field? What qualifications you must have to get into the field of software engineering?
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, engineers always have juniors have always the option of being an intern first and then getting a job, especially at outsourcing companies. But yeah, I think also the job market also goes a bit towards the juniors, which might be less expensive, but they will get the job done. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure what future brings, but it looks like the juniors nowadays might be um, a little bit privileged because they are less expensive again. So yeah, it looks like companies want to hire them for doing a good enough job. Regarding the case which you mentioned about juniors,
Not
which
even juniors. You could be like a product manager, or you could be a person who has an idea. You LLM yourself into building a product. It does a really good enough job. Let's say you build a product in 1 week or 1 month, and then you land a client. You actually have paying clients, and then you quickly realize you run into shit. Shit goes on the fan. You quickly start hiring a bunch of competent people, and you're going to be looking for seniors with a bunch of experience in XYZ technology because that's what the LLM told you that you have in your product. You find the senior people and they start maintaining your product. You start making money. In the process, you've actually eliminated juniors. That's what you've done. At the same time, what you say is also valid. There are companies, especially small to medium companies, given the fact we're still a business of where, let's say, 80% of IT companies are still doing outsource. You have a lot of small to medium sized companies, and they obviously want to maximize profits. They don't give a shit about the quality as much. So whoever is the lowest bidder, that's the person who we're going to hire. So you have a bunch of juniors who don't really know their value. At the same time, they don't have the experience to really negotiate their value. So yeah, you have this interesting balance.
well, it looks like those are job opportunities for for the seasoned developers. So it looks like it's a circle. On some occasions, we might be substituted by I don't know, AI juniors or juniors assisted by AI. But on some other occasions, seniors can actually land a job on a smaller startup, I don't know, initiative. And that's also convenient, I guess. It's not what's not convenient for them is probably they might actually need to write that from scratch.
Yeah, but then you have this gap where if you have the more employers you have that are looking for cheap juniors, then the harder it is for you as a junior to negotiate, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because if everybody around you is hiring juniors, then you're going to reach a certain, let's say, threshold where you can no longer upgrade yourself. And you have really high seniors and like juniors who can't upgrade because of the fact that they are juniors. which is a weird situation to be in, I guess.
Yeah, that's a valid point. I guess reaching such a point, the juniors should do some extra steps. I don't know, certifications, retraining programs,
Yeah,
and basically
stand
upgrade.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. You mentioned passion. I was wondering, because it happens to every one of us. I was wondering, do you get bored? What makes you bored? And how do you get outside of this comfort zone?
Bored? Yeah, I'll have to think about it. Mm, I'm not sure if I was bored, but I remember having to do something that I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
Um, Probably because I didn't see a lot of meaning in that. So on some occasions, I had some tasks that looked like some things given to me to do just to have something to do,
Yeah.
but not something that brings value to the project. So yeah, when I see that, see the need for a change. Maybe I'm not needed at that project that much. Maybe I should switch to another project. And yeah, I always try to do my job, but if I lose the motivation, the meaning, I don't see any meaning or me bringing any value into it, I'll think of a backup.
Are there any things you enjoy doing outside work? Because we've been talking a lot about work,
Mhm.
career, software, and whatnot.
Yeah, a lot of things. Well, first off, I could say that I like moving in general. I'm not an athlete. I guess I could classify myself as a athlete wannabe or amateur. I like running. First off, I actually managed to improve my performance quite a significant amount in the past year or so.
Yep.
Yeah, also like sports like volleyball, table tennis, things like that, and also finding new music, preferably rock.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like the. Can people find you on Strava?
of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I noticed you run a lot.
Yeah, especially trail running. Trail running, Chisinau Marathon is fun. There's a big event, a lot of stands, a lot of music.
Yeah.
But when you go into the forest, you get to feel the silence, the nature sounds, the especially if you're alone, not into that whole crowd.
Yeah.
That's like meditation,
Yeah.
the good
That's
stuff.
what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
It's every single time I run. I mean, some people run without music. I personally prefer music,
Hmm.
but every single time I run, it's like a really deep state of mind where I meditate, I focus better. It's like all my ideas come together in one place. And I just go back home after 1 hour of running with a clear head. I know exactly what I want to do. I know exactly how I want to do it. It's just, I don't know. I love it. Outside the fact that you feel good and you've actually burned some calories, I would say.
Yeah, this is. I'm not sure what's the science behind it, but it looks like physical tiredness gets you to I don't know, get rid of the mental tiredness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting effect, and I think it's uh, well, it is recommended for anyone. People don't walk. I'm not even speaking about running. People don't walk that much nowadays, and it's visible because they basically reach a point when pain kicks in and they blame, I don't know, a lot of things but not their lifestyle,
Yeah.
which is interesting. Yeah, people.
I mean, your body's your temple. Basically, you should take care of your body, and that's the that's the driving machine which is gonna get you to the job you have, the I don't know, anything you accomplish in life, and the way you feel as well.
Yeah, and I also tend to think about evolution. So the way we were in prehistoric times,
Yeah.
basically our body had evolved for a very active lifestyle. We needed to work for our food, for basically for everything, a lot of movement. Nowadays, we ended up with biologically a similar body, but we have a very mm, slow lifestyle, which has an impact and it's visible. Yeah, people struggle with health nowadays.
That's a good point, especially for engineers. Like you see some, like you have two extremes. You see really skinny ones, and
Hmm.
you see extremely big ones, which should probably take more care what they put in their mouth and whatnot. Um, there's so much to talk about, and I really thought I could cover a lot of things, but time flies so fast, especially when the discussion is interesting. So I maybe want to go to a closing. A lot of people talk about them going back in the past and giving advice to themselves. I want to slightly switch things up and reverse it. What if you had something to say for your future self? Let's say yourself 5 years from now. Let's say yourself 5 years from now is going to watch this video. What's your piece of advice to that guy? Since you mentioned passion and the fact that with time you lose passion, what's your advice for your future self, basically?
Yeah, my advice, I guess, would be to not forget where it all started. So I started because I liked, let's say, problem solving. So even though we have such tools that basically can do powerful stuff, I shouldn't forget again where it all started, and I should continue doing this. I should not lose the motivation thinking that I can be replaced because, well, yeah, I don't think it's the case. We can be replaced that easily, and problem solvers they will always be needed in a form or another. So yeah, my advice in short: keep it going. Uh, keep your streak on lead code going every day,
Yeah.
and don't forget about data structures and algorithms. I guess.
Yeah. Every single time you feel down or I don't know, demotivated, you should watch this last part of the video. Yeah. Uh yeah, to sum up and close the video maybe, I ask this every single one. Uh what's your final piece of advice for anyone who's watching this, whether they're a software engineer, a junior, somebody who wants to break through this landscape of the tech world? What would you tell them for anyone who's watching the video?
Well, this time I won't get into self improvement advices.
Yeah.
Um, for the past days, one lyric from one song got stuck into my head, which sounds like Take Your Time to Waste a Moment by Kings of Leon, which is something that I think everybody should do nowadays. So, everybody is concentrated nowadays on multitasking, always basically to be surrounded by data, content. But once in a while, we need to basically waste time, be alone with our thoughts, and not to forget to think in a while for ourselves. Yeah, because always consuming data from outside basically atrophies our critical thinking and maybe attention span, and it's visible. It's a side effect that I am personally afraid of, and yeah, people should work on that, I guess.
Yeah, you shouldn't always be in this laser focused state. Sometimes, like the state of boredom is useful for our brain because that's when it starts to actually spin its wheels and do critical thinking, as you said. Whereas if you're always busy spinning the hamster wheel, you're never really thinking, you're not evolving as a person. Yeah, really good piece of advice, I would say. Yeah. Like I said, there's way too many topics to cover. So I would really love and enjoy to have a V2, V3 and whatnot.
Of course.
But before we do that, the tradition of the show is you pick a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
So before I close the show, we've tasted both of the brands. So, or it's the same brand, but we've tasted both of the wines. So which one is it gonna be?
Yeah, well, I'm not an expert. I will judge by the cover again. So it will be the one with white label. I think I like that one.
Racist.
Oh no.
No, I mean, I don't exactly remember the prices. I remember that one of them was slightly more expensive, but it has a cheaper label. And the other one, who has like a more premium label, is slightly not as expensive. So I don't know what the price per value is, because like yourself, I'm not a wine expert. But I really enjoyed both of them. So the one with the white label, it goes. Great pick. And I'll end this show by saying this was a pleasure to talk to you. I would love to do it again. There's much to learn from you, even though you're younger than me. I always find the younger generation inspiring, a new way of thinking, fresh blood. So I would definitely love to see you again.
Thanks. It was again my first on a podcast. I didn't know what to expect, but it was quite fast, which means it was enjoyable, quite enjoyable. And thanks for inviting me.
Waiting for a V2. Who knows? Wine, whiskey, maybe. Whatever. Ladies and gentlemen, this was VUnstaged. Keep your mind open and your source unstaged.